Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rich. Alright, welcome to Render Like Wrightson, aka Super Detailed Old School Inking with an E at the end of old. Oldie. Alright, I'm so tired and I'm still going for this. It's funny too because I've been working on stuff that's the polar opposite of this stuff right now, so it's interesting like going like, okay, now you're just gonna work on like the hardest inking, penciling work that's ever been created parallel to comics. Go for it, dude. All right, so anyway, what I thought we would do is we're going to do a little study of this dude right here and then some of the elements that surround him. So this is going to be a multi-part thing, and this will probably be the end of the series, but this will take at least 3 videos, maybe 4 to do it. But I'm going to basically go from here, some of this, a little bit of this shelf here, maybe one of these bottles, the wood. To me, this encapsulates every technique that basically you probably have to use to ever do this style, except for maybe a little odds and ends. And trust me, if you can nail all this stuff, you'd be able to break down anything else. And it was interesting. I was talking about guitar videos, but I was watching a guitar video and this teacher was saying that there was a technique that he used, and I thought it was fascinating. It really applies to inking. So here it is. He would strum chords for his students, generally 3-note chords, and he would have the students hum each note in the chord. So what that essentially, the artistic equivalent would be being able to look at an area and spot the hatches and really quickly be able to identify what direction do all the lines go in this little area here. If it's a triple hatch, can you see each direction that the lines go? And it's an important skill to develop, because if you're going to actually try to dissect something, you know, a lot of times in an area like this, although generally with the Wrights and stuff, I would say it's 2 hatches generally, 2 directions, maybe sometimes 3. Again, I'm not an expert on this style, but I mean, I've seen it enough to kind of know. But anyway, yeah, you really want to be able to tell what the technique is, you know, because if you can't, you can't. So speaking of technique, the other thing that I'm going to say is kick the idea of technique out of your head. This is drawing. It's drawing with ink. Wrightson was drawing with ink. He was creating form with ink. Okay? This isn't a bunch of ragtag techniques slapped onto stuff. And a lot of times, people separate the two. And it's not a good idea. You need to, over time and experience, realize that really what you're doing is you're drawing with ink. I have a very difficult time addressing inking questions without basically explaining drawing to people. And I think sometimes they look disappointed because I didn't give them the answer that they wanted, which was you need to understand form, which basically boils down to being able to draw. So anyway, what I did is really quickly, I sketched out just this little area, but I did it super duper fast, and I wasn't really concerned with copying the exact drawing. I just want to get the pieces in. But what I thought, honestly, is we kind of really do need to look at the drawing, and then I'll, again, because this is sort of a master study in a way, I think it is important for me to actually show some of the drawing ideas. So anyway, the reason being is we're going to render form that's suggested in this piece. And if you don't understand why he has stuff going the directions that he does and how things connect, you're really not going to get this style. You're just going to be throwing a bunch of lines on drawings, and you know, some lines will probably go an appropriate direction, but most won't, and they won't suggest the things that you want. They won't light the things the way that you want, and you'll really miss the whole point of it, honestly. So that's why this is going to be a pretty in-depth study of this area, and there was no real reason for me to get ahead of the curve, because once I sketched it out, I was like, you know, really, I need to talk about drawing with these people. Can't just throw them in the deep end with this stuff. They're never going to get it. Never going to get it. Never going to get it. All right, so first things first. We'll do the head first, the cranium. So anyway, like most of you, I'm going to scoot the Wrightson book out of the way for a little bit. So anyway, we've got, and I'm going to show you real simple shapes that you can use to, I'll explain why I'm doing what I'm doing in 1 second. Just let me kind of get this Greek in. And I'm not going to do the full drawing, but okay, so his head. you've got a sphere shape that's right in here, and then you have this wedge that goes here. So this is the wedge. Let me and this is stuff that you kind of want to have more in your mind than put in your drawings. What I find is if you really do build drawings up too much like this, it's very difficult to dig yourself out of this type of thinking. I've got a cat sitting behind me pushing on me right now. It's pretty funny. But I want to just show you the underlying structure of what we're building on. So it's kind of important to see it. So first off, that's the simple shape, and then I'm going to show you the next shape. So what he's got here is kind of like an iron, or like the front of a train. You know what I mean? If you think of like the front of like a train. Hope that means frame. And honestly, if you look at that right there, that's the beginning of Darth Vader's helmet too. I mean, all this stuff ties into each other. It's just, it's so important to understand how to draw and how to see three-dimensional form. But anyway, so again, I'm using real simple shapes here. Who knows? We may not even get to inking today, but that's okay because this is important. I didn't know that it would head this route, but I still think that. So what I'm doing now is I'm putting the cheekbones in. And Wright's instruction structure is different than mine. I mean, the way he cartoons these shapes isn't exactly how I see them. His stuff is a little more elongated. And I mean, if you look at how Wrights and draws people's faces, they kind of have like that Ichabod Crane thing where they're slightly longer faces. Like, it's an exaggerated thing, but I mean, that's not unlike some basic shapes that Wrightson does heads. If I were to grab out like a look back, I'm sure I could find, you know, the faces with the big noses and, you know, have some kind of crooked mouth in there, and who knows, maybe the chin could even extend more, and the eyes are a little more deep set. I mean, and you know, the ears probably would be kind of big, but I mean, like I said, that's kind of how he draws faces. And again, it's not really my structure, so I have to kind of acclimate to the distances, meaning proportions, because essentially what you've got is, I mean, and you guys all probably know basic drawing, but they talk about like the triangles on the face. It's been a while since I've done this, so I don't know if I'm going to get this right. But anyway, like the eyes kind of sit here. This is as if it was a front view, and then the nose would be here. And if you sort of see these that way, that'll be a pretty solid face for you. And there's like essentially one eye distance between the middle of these. So, and then I think it's like you can count it that way. I think it's two eyes there. I don't remember the exact proportions. I kind of eyeball it now, and again, it's become a stylized structure. But you definitely want the eyes and the nose to have that, and then that's the base of the nose, and that'll be an attractive distance from them. So anyway, and he exaggerates that with these things. Although this actually does have the triangle, I can see it. So okay, we'll get back to here, and then the jaw itself. So hopefully everyone's having a good day. This is exciting getting into this. I'm already kind of feeling more awake, just sort of approaching it. And I normally don't do stuff like this. I've mentioned that in some of the other videos, but this has never been a real process. I've done full copies of pieces before that I like. And I actually did do a Wrightson piece one time, a Frankenstein plate. So who knows? Maybe what I'm saying is actually inaccurate. There you go. I've actually debunked my own thing. But what I mean is I haven't done. Well, you know, maybe I have. I don't know. The artists are the worst people to ask about their techniques. That's the thing. You lie. You lie to yourself. No, I'm sure I meant it in a certain way. Now I'm lost it. That actually isn't bad. Let's structure on that. It's not bad. But the reason that I'm showing this is, okay, so we're going to look at this real quick. It's fine. The cat, my cat's behind me, totally pushing me. So he's got this really good anatomy going on. Like right in here, like there's this really, really thick, like tendon, like coming down here. And then this stuff. And then if you look in here, this shape, and then this right here, and then how these go this way, it's really, really cool. And it's super duper important to understand. So that was why I kind of keyed in on that right away. So anyway, let me kind of try to place that, and I'll sort of show you the form. So it starts behind the ear, and it's going to drop to about here, and then he's got this massive collarbone on the monster. It comes to the shoulder. This is all suggested. I'm putting the line in just to help guide myself, and then this big chunk of just grizzle sits here, and he doesn't outline it, but what he does is he has his line work comes up to it, and I'll show you what he did. And that's the thing too, we talked about this before. He doesn't put any real edges around stuff. The edges are always created by what sits next to it. Do you see that? Like, he didn't go and outline all this. This detail just coincidentally stops here. Do you see how none of that is connected? These lines suggest where that ends. This stuff suggests where that ends. These lines on his face suggest where that jaw is. But I've seen some of his sketches, and he does sketch this stuff in, but then he knows where he's going to leave it because he starts to shade things. So anyway, that's why I'm showing you this shape right here. And then he's got a couple of things that come off of it, like if we were to see it in three-dimensional form, he's got basically, so this is the one coming off the neck. I'm trying to look through the phone and do it, but I'm going to show you what the actual form of it is. So it's this big cylinder, and it's in perspective. The eye level in this piece, although it's difficult to see because of the closeness to my camera, but eye level is right about here. Yeah, I was right actually, because look, this bookshelf, do you see where it starts to even out and the horizon line is straight across? It is right here. I knew it. We were sitting just below this guy. So anyway, but yeah, so we're entering the room. We're probably about 15 feet back from them, and eye level for us, like looking forward, is here. So the room is going back into perspective, and that's why they're lifted. But yeah, this bookshelf is the tell right here, because that's where it starts to level out. Like right here is the horizon line. And again, what is it? It's drawing. It's not inking. But you need to know all this stuff, because what I was just going to say is this is in perspective. And even though he didn't draw this, if you don't feel the perspective here and understand that that is basically, I'll dumb it down, but you've got a Coke can style shape that's been now twisted and is in perspective, so it's going into space. You need to have these lines making sense, because if you don't feel that form when you do your rendering, the inking part, if you do these lines wrong, like if you're coming down and doing this stuff, you've completely ignored the form. Do you see what I'm saying? Like if your lines go straight across where you think, well, you probably, if you did that, you wouldn't be aware of where the horizon line and the perspective stuff is all going. But this is the form on his neck. Okay, that's what's there, just so you know. Like I said, these are messy drawings, but it's the message behind them. So the shoulder blade, we're going to look at this really quick. Okay, so he's got the collarbone starts in the center here. There would be this right here. Okay, and it goes up into the shoulder right there. Okay, so I'm going to just sketch that. It's funny because this new camera holder is a little shorter than my own. Okay, I have to look at the paper and not through the camera. Sometimes I try to cheat. Okay, so that's the collarbone. Goes up there. his head is sitting kind of above here. And maybe even in the next lesson, I'll actually break out an anatomy book. But this is so important that the fact that I'm not inking this doesn't even matter, because I'm telling you, like, if you don't understand this stuff, you're dead on arrival already. All right, so I'm putting in my own anatomy here because it's a little hard to read what he does. And then he's got this sort of drapey thing. But like the monster's got like maybe like a medical sort of gown on. We'll worry about that later. But anyway, it's got these sort of like folds and stuff that come off of it. But okay, so here, what he did. Okay, and then there's the this huge chest muscle. All right, so kind of show you what I'm like. So his chest muscles here. Bam, bam. And then I'm not going to get into this because it's real sketchy what he drew, and trying to copy it, I would almost be better off just trying to draw my own version of it. So we may go into that area, but we may not. It just depends. All right, so I kind of pulled my anatomy a little bit over more, but so the one really nice shape that he has is he has this nice highlight that goes across here. And I'm just outlining the and this muscle kind of is like 3 chunks, and it's pretty cool because what he did is he's got the I'm going to show you. Okay, so he's got there's a highlight right here, and then there's a highlight right here, but this is 3 pieces of muscle even though it reads as 1. And then if you see here, so the first panel of the muscle has this, where the second one is, it gets a little bit, and then there's none. So and what he does to indicate these, so that they're even here, is it's just lines that go to the edges of it. Okay, and then it starts to get darker. So it goes here, and then this stuff is just completely, the lines are about as close together as they can get to create about a 70% gray. And then same deal here when you're going with the form of the muscle. So if the muscle is if it was a wireframe, that's the wireframe of that muscle. That's what it looks like. So highlight there, shadow. Okay. And then this chunk right here, same deal. It's kind of like, if we can see that, I'll sketch it light and then I'll pull up on what I'm doing. Again, it's separated into sort of masses. This is kind of all Bridgman. Someone actually mentioned Vanderpool. So Vanderpool, if I'm not mistaken, was Bridgman's teacher. I have actually the original Vanderpool book from like 1913 or whatever it is, 1890s. I bought it years ago. But yeah, so Vanderpool was Bridgman's teacher. They're both excellent artists. Vanderpool's stuff's prettier than Bridgman. Bridgman is more kind of a little rough around the edges. Very, very good though. So let's see. Then he's got actually like there's core lighting going on here on this muscle. So there's actually like a shadow that hits through the middle, and you'll see here. And he's got a few little anomalies in there. Sometimes that style, I mean, you could argue it, but I love this little piece right here because the muscle actually does attach here. There's a little piece that actually does go here. So it's a really fascinating like little area. It's beautifully rendered. Sorry, I'm trying to get it up where you can see it. Let me hit autofocus. But yeah, you see that? But that actually is kind of an anatomical thing, but he did it in such a stylish way. Sorry, I'll get it in here in a sec. And then what's really cool is I like this too. Let me autofocus again for you. This right here, and I'll pull in on it closer, but I'm going to show you in the drawing. So this stuff is clear. It's such a risk to change camera angles while I'm shooting one of these videos live. Anyway, but because this muscle goes a different shape, goes a different, like the mass is different. So let's go up here. So you've got this, and then these come down, and then he's got so much light on this muscle. Well, and also the wrapping comes down, but then he just gives a little bit of a core shadow here. So here. Okay, and then this comes over the muscle. The wrap goes here, and there's he always adds seams on things, which I think is a very nice touch and level of realism to stuff. So with this kind of medical gown that's over the monster, you'll see there's a double ridge that goes right here, and then this is very, very dark. You see that edge with the little spots of white in it? It's rendered differently. Let me pull in on it. This here is a seam, like where fabric is doubled over, and so he shows that form. Do you see those white dots? He went in with black, and he made sure to go the direction, again, in perspective, that this stuff would fall. Because if you start curving lines just on even something like a seam like that, this stuff all stacks up too, and it ultimately makes your drawing either believable or it just doesn't click, and you're never going to know why. But if he started doing these lines, this is that seam on the thing, because we're below it, the lines have to bend like that. If you even threw a few lines like this, now you're above it looking down. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? This is so important. This is drawing. This isn't inking, but it is inking. You have to merge the two in your mind. These are the best inking lessons you're ever going to get. I'm telling you. I know what I'm talking about. The other inkers, they don't want you to know this stuff. They want you to hit your head against the wall. I don't know that to be fact. Anyway, so, all right. But yeah, but if you look at the direction of those, you see that they curve the proper way. These, I was pointing to it on the phone. That's funny, but they curve that way. If you were to magnify that, what you're seeing is you're seeing shapes like this. Sorry again for the autofocus, but the shapes look like these two things right here. If you had them curving like a smiley face, then it would look like you're looking above them down. Okay, I think that's a really, really good introduction into inking this monstrosity of an area. And again, the goal is to ink basically from this dark area. We'll go through here, we'll get some of these bottles, we'll get the bookshelf, maybe this one jug, and then some of the wood and the chains up here. So kind of like this area right here. It's going to be a lot of work. This could be 4 or 5 videos, but this will really, really prepare you for just about anything going on. Maybe we'll do a little bit of this, since this is a little spicy nicey here with the light and the sort of diffused line work. Okay, please smash the like. I hope that you enjoyed that. There's humor, there's education, and yeah, we're going to get in and we're going to bang this out. Wrightson would be proud of us for learning it the right way. Okay? All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.